What's going on, guys? Anime Yokage jumping in for One Piece chapter 1109. I know we missed 1108, but we are at 1109 now. We are in the present, not the past. Let's keep moving forward. I couldn't get to last week just because a lot of things came up on my plate that I wasn't expecting. And so now, by the time that I got ready to do 1108, 1109 leaks were already out. So I just figured let's just jump to 1109 and pretend 1108 never happened. So let's get into it. All right, for everyone who cares about the cover story, our cover story actually shows Onigashima underwater since it was sunk. It fell out of the sky and sank into the ocean. There's a whole bunch of fish and everything swimming around it, and it looks like something could happen, maybe with the fishmen or something like that. I don't know. Maybe Jack could happen upon it. Everyone who likes the cover stories, it seems that some of the cover story stuff is canonical, so it does hold weight, but maybe just not quite yet. So let's get into the chapter. So the first page we jump in, and it's actually kind of a flashback to whenever Vegapunk was talking about the message that they're about to start sending out to everybody over their video transponder snails. He's going back and forth with his satellites, mainly Shaka, and that's how we know it's a flashback, because rest in peace, Shaka. We're getting to see that they are acknowledging the fact that majority of the world is not going to be ready to receive this transmission. And if it's relayed to them from other news sources, which they know are corrupt and they know won't report what he says, then they'll get it about the next day and they probably won't hear anything at all, honestly. Nothing of what he's about to say is in the best interest of the world government. So they're, of course, talking about, do you think anyone will block the message? Do you think anyone will intercept it? How can we make sure this gets out to everybody? And does anyone have any suggestions? And if you don't remember what happened in 1108, Vegapunk had this dead man switch on him to where if he were to ever pass or be unalived, that a message would go out to the entire world revealing the truth of this world, he says. It's kind of funny that we see Vegapunk's speech bubbles. Vegapunk suggests, why can't we piggyback off the Naval's comm connections? And as he's saying that, the Marines are saying, cut the connections immediately. And in the next one, he's saying that they can't cut the connections. Vegapunk goes on to say that would allow us to force a worldwide constant broadcast with our signal strength at maximum. So how ironic, the world being told the truth about the One Piece universe, and it's from the very mouths that would never tell it to the rest of the world. I guess you can kind of compare it to our world's emergency broadcast system. Every TV, every kind of outlet, every kind of person connected to the internet, radio signal, no matter what, it would all be drowned out, and it would all be, everything else would be shut down or pushed to the wayside in order for this emergency broadcast to come out. And also, if you're unfamiliar with 1108, Luffy got huge. He got so big that he's holding Kizaru in one hand like a doll, and he's palming the face of Saturn and holding them both at bay whenever he told them, you can't both get away. You know that, right? And it shows Luffy, Kizaru, and Saturn all in this weird stalemate, and Luffy's staring off listening to the message. And Vegapunk says that even if people just have a regular transponder snail, they're going to be able to at least receive the voice message. But anyone with a video snail is going to have to try and get it ready to receive the message. We're not sure in this world. It's probably not just like a TV to where you just turn it on and flip it to the right channel. These are snails. They're living creatures, and from what we've seen, these snails project it out of their eyes. I don't know if that's something they're all ready for. I don't know if that's... Also, you have to have a projector screen or something to project it on. If you just project it out into the open air, you won't see anything. So it has to be on something to where it's visually able to be reflected back into your eyeballs. That's probably a problem they're going to be running into, but I feel like maybe... I have multiple projectors at my home, and as you can see right there, it doesn't take too long to set up, but that's not a snail. And as this message is being relayed across the island, you're kind of getting everybody's take on it and what they're doing in that moment. Like I said, like Luffy's holding on to Kizaru and Saturn in one hand, but kind of, trying to pay attention to what he's saying. And then it cuts over to Saturn thinking, what could Vegapunk be trying to tell them? And we already know his deepest, darkest fears, that he's going to expose the corruption of the world government and also bring up the Void Century, possibly. I feel like this is a really big exposition for us to get as readers, but I can't quite say that Oda will let us listen to it. I feel like he's gonna troll us big time, and we're just gonna get the reactions from everybody. Like, no, it can't be, and stuff like that. And then we're not gonna know what's going on. We're going, somebody tell us, break the fourth wall. I don't think that we're gonna be able to hear it. It's gonna suck. But if we do get to hear it, amazing. There's so many unanswered questions that we have as a community, and maybe even possibly questions that we didn't know we'd have yet. So we'll see what happens. Vegapunk explains that the time variance will vary by different parts of being around the world, like our time zones work. And he says, all right, we'll give them 1 hour to get ready. And one of the satellites says back to him, an hour, it's too long. Do you know what can happen within an hour? The space could get attacked, it could get cut off, it could get, anything could happen to make sure that this message does not get out, because Vegapunk is already very well aware that this message will not be received well by the world government no matter what. So they agree, because an hour is far too long, that they're going to make the interval 10 minutes. 10 minutes only, and then the world is getting told the truth. And that's really starting to scare the world government, the Gorosei, and the Marines, because as he says this, we cut back over to Marijua. It seems that the Gorosei are actually able to speak with each other telepathically, or maybe because they're all one being. I'm not sure, but it seems that they're all having a conclusive dialogue all together within their minds. And it could just be an ability that they know of, or they have specifically within their lineage or something like that. But it also just could be that they're all one being split up, or there's many different options of why this is probably happening. But being a hive mind like they are, it makes sense, and it's kind of cool to see. Because the Gorosei at Marijua are asking Saturn internally that what happened to Vegapunk, and he says, I saw Kizaru deal the killing blow, he's dead. And that's where they come to the conclusion that it's most likely a dead man switch. So the next point of investigation is, where is the message coming from and how do we stop it? And they pretty much concur that it's coming from the labo phase of Egghead, and they're going to have to destroy that in order for this message to stop. But if we know Vegapunk, he's probably already set up something to protect the labo phase from there, and not just the big giant laser barrier that's around it right now. Or maybe it's not even coming from the labo phase because he knew they would attack that first. Vegapunk created the Mother Flame, and he created the majority of weapons that the world government and the Marines use, so he knows the exact capabilities that they would have in order to shut off a transmission if they knew where to shoot their weapons in order to stop it. So we see other people from around the One Piece world starting to tune in and get their transponder snails going, and their video transponder snails. The first place we cut over to is actually Dressrosa. And as these people point out here, if Dr. Vegapunk is trying to tell them something, it's probably a big deal. A majority of the world most likely knows who Vegapunk is or what Vegapunk has done in terms of inventions and advancing technology and everything like that, but I don't think a lot of people have ever seen Vegapunk. They don't know what he looks like, they don't know where he is, anything like that. He's kind of just think of Elon Musk, but if he never showed his face and you just heard things came out from Tesla. You don't know when, how, or why, they just come out, and that's okay. In Dressrosa, we actually see the Tontatas saying, Dr. Vegapunk, the wise man that Luffy kidnapped? And Rebecca tells him, you didn't believe another article, did you? They are completely against Luffy. She's basically just telling him, like, don't believe what you read because it's a lie. They don't like Luffy. It's kind of a correlation to our newspapers and our media centers, like how fake that they are all the time. Everyone has a narrative. Everywhere in the world, even in the fake world like One Piece, there are narratives, there are agendas, and you can't trust anything you read. And it actually cuts over to Fuchsia Village, where Luffy is from, and everyone's like, who's this Dr. Vegapunk? I thought we were just going to hear more news about that troublemaker Luffy. And they said, oh, if we had a video transponder snail, we could see everything. How about it, Mayor? Like, how'd you all get Village one? And just, cuts over to the mayor being like, well, who's going to pay for that? It adds to the little good fun that you can have within One Piece. Even at a very dire moment like this, that kind of comedy and little tiny humor and everything is totally okay just because of the world that Oda has built around it. I actually love it because it keeps a sense of seriousness, but also it comes back to let us know it's manga, it's a fun story. Oda's whole goal is to make us have fun, so to be able to have a little bit of comedy and serious moments like that just makes me really appreciate One Piece to my core. We also cut over to Water 7 to where Iceberg is pretty much making sure that everybody on Water 7 is going to be able to see this video. Maybe they could send one of their transponder snails over to Fuchsia Village so they can see their homeboy on TV as the sun god and getting in major trouble by the Gorosei. And here's also someone we already knew is going to be on the case. We actually get Big News Morgan, Vivi, and Wapple in like a hot air balloon thing, his hot air balloon ship that he's flying around in, the World Economic Journal ship. And they are getting their video transponder snails, getting ready to take in this big news. Morgan is actually assuming that this has to be a pre-recorded message because there's no way that that island is still standing after a Buster call. He says it must be all smithereens and flames by now. He's right about it being a pre-recorded message, but he's not right about the island because that Buster call is very unsuccessful. We actually even shoot over to Kamabaka Queendom where it shows Dragon, the Revolutionary Army, getting ready to watch as well. And Dragon is kind of reflecting back whenever Shaka said that they will be dead soon. And he told him, oh, don't talk like that. Don't think like that. Maybe Dragon should have done something for once. He should have done something and maybe took heed. And maybe he could be there helping Vegapunk and everybody else stay out of trouble. Dragon? No, we wouldn't do that. Oh, do something? Never. So now that we see that everybody in the world is watching for Vegapunk's message, we cut back to Egghead Island itself, and we actually go back to Luffy, to where Luffy is attacking Saturn and Kizaru and addressing the fact that none of his attacks have any effect on Saturn, because no matter what he does, he just regenerates. I think Saturn is trying to use his like eye power that he had before, you know, the gaze that makes Marines' heads blow up. And also, it seems that since Kizaru's body's incapacitated and like down to the size from being held like a doll, he's starting to like generate some light beams coming from his eyes going to attack Luffy. But Luffy says, I'm not going to let you get off this island until I know that my friends are safe. And he rears back real hard, puts him way back, almost like he's about to do like Gum Gum Bazooka. You know how he brings his arms super far back, but there's a new move. Luffy is reaching back and he slams Saturn and Kizaru together with Gum Gum Dawn Booming Cymbals. And he takes both of them and slams them together and flattens them like pancakes. The amount of disrespect this move does. Not only damage, but the disrespect this move does. And on top of that, Luffy picks them both up and spins them around like pizzas. Don Gum Gum's booming cymbals, slams them together, flattens them like pancakes, and then continues to spin around like pizzas like he's a Harlem Globetrotter or he works at Papa John's. And this just shows you the extent of Luffy's power, and I think that he is just going to get more and more control over it. I think that the more that he makes himself laugh or the more he finds it amusing, whatever he's doing, the more powerful he's going to get. But I don't think that's going to be the limitation in the future. I think that's how he's reaching it now, because he has to feel the spirit of Sun God Nika and Joy Boy in order to fully harness the powers that he's been given. But it also takes away because now he can't do anything if he's not having a good time. Like there was a super dire situation and he is not able to be happy and joyous and laughing. Think about whenever he goes into his rage modes, and that's whenever he got really strong before. I think we saw a glimpse of it in 1108 whenever he was not smiling in Gear 5th and he was taking it very seriously. This is what I mean. I think that he, over time, he's going to get more used to this and he's going to be able to enact these powers and the intensity of these powers whenever he wants. But as of right now, I feel like it's going to derive from more of a primal source of joy and happiness and having fun. But he's able to do a lot right now. Like Saturn is larger than Kaido was, and he's able to flatten him like a pancake. Not even a pancake, a crepe. He is thin. So Luffy, after spinning him on both fingers, sends him flying out to the sea, just absolutely launches them like frisbees. And the intent of this is just to make them fly far, far away, kind of like when he did Gum Gum Bazooka, just he would hit somebody and make sure that they were out of the picture. They're gone. They can't do anything anymore. Kizaru lands on a ship. He crashes into a ship, and it looks like at this point that Kizaru has been embarrassed enough and he's out of it. Although Saturn is able to pull some moves, and he's able to actually boomerang himself back at Luffy. I don't know how he's riding the wave like this and redirecting his trajectory. I know I've seen a frisbee come back to people. It's just crazy to think that one of the Gorosei, someone who hasn't seen battle in so long and hasn't done anything, is able to do something like this, where it's a completely unorthodox move and movement. An admiral who in many battles, he's in many battles, very time tested, and he is a warrior. He is crashing the ship. We don't know if Kizaru is just doing it because he has a soft spot and he wants to get out of this fight somehow, because we know he doesn't want to kill Vegapunk, although he already did, but he doesn't want to kill Bonnie and Kuma. He doesn't want to do that, at least. Maybe he's just kind of taking the L and sitting out like, oh, you got me. But Saturn is even not just regenerating, he is resilient as hell, being able to come back like this right at Luffy. So it shows Saturn actually making his kind of like claw things, like his spikes, kind of pointing them down and at Luffy while he's spinning, kind of creating like a buzzsaw effect. And Luffy freaks out like, what's it gonna take to keep you down? And as he's coming at Luffy, Luffy does like that sky run that he did at Onigashima, and like, woo, and takes off. And he got very close to Luffy, but as the Sun God, I don't think that he's gonna get close to making any kind of impactful attacks or moves on him. And on the last page of the chapter, we actually see that the giant that was carrying Atlas, Kuma, Frankie, Bonnie, all them, he actually arrives back at the ship. So they're going to be safe. We can't say the same for Vegapunk, obviously, and Sanji is still with Vegapunk. But Saturn has landed, and we're getting a close-up shot of his face, and he says, I shall perform the summoning. And as he says that, black lightning either erupts from the island or it strikes the island, and we start to see 4 more of the summoning circles that one of the summoning circles that Saturn came in. There's 4 more now. It seems that all 5 Gorosei are arriving at Egghead to shut this down, to shut down the transmission, to take out Sun God Nika, because obviously Saturn cannot do it on his own now. And everyone here is just as confused as we are. Sanji makes a point to say, what the hell? It's exactly like when the spider geezer got here. Now, I have a theory. That the reason that Saturn is getting punked and knocked around all the time, but he can't really be hurt, none of the damage he takes is permanent. I think that if the Gorosei work as a unit, that Saturn is the tank. If there is a party, like playing a video game with friends or something, you're facing off against a boss who has different phases and like that are within that boss fight. One is always usually the defense and one is always the attack. Now with 5 of these coming in, 5 Gorosei here, we could have a lot different of a party. Think of them as a party in like a D&D campaign. Think of Saturn being the tank. Think of one of them being as the attack. Think of one of them being as healing and support. And think about another one being long range. Definitely not a for sure thing. It's something that kind of makes sense in my head to why, you know, the biggest attack he did was stepping on Vegapunk. He just stabbed him with his foot claw thing. It's not a crazy attack besides, you know, that random Marine, rest in peace. These other Gorosei, maybe one of them is a complete glass cannon, and he needs Saturn to be there in order to take the hits and make sure that he doesn't get destroyed himself, or maybe they can just all regenerate, and it's just a super overpowered thing that the Gorosei aren't going to be able to be destroyed at all, or maybe you have to know a certain technique, or you have to have a certain kind of coded weapon, or maybe extreme levels of hockey. I know that Luffy is using hockey, but I haven't seen him use anything that is just full-on Conqueror's hockey hits. He was fighting against Kaido, We definitely knew when he was coding with Conqueror's Hockey, and it was it was super highlighted when he was attacking with Conqueror's Hockey. And I haven't really seen any big highlights of, oh, this is a Conqueror Hockey infused hit. So that may be the key to it. I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's kind of dumb to think that he hasn't been using it, but I haven't got any confirmation yet, so I don't feel that dumb bringing it up. But anyways, that is the last page for chapter 1109 of One Piece. And I'm not sure if we're taking a break next week or not. I don't know if there's any. I haven't heard anything about a break. So hopefully I get to make another video for you next week. And if you called anything in this chapter or things you want to see next, any theories of what may happen, put it in the comments, timestamp it now so you can get credit when it happens. I love getting to talk to you guys and converse with you in the comment section. And again, thank you so much for everyone who's been subscribing. Thank you for giving me the fuel I need to move forward and keep making these videos for you every week. So I'm Anime Yokage, and I'll see you later.